Hello and welcome to the stream. So finished Ease 8 last time, took a little break, and now I'm back with Kerbal Space Program. Now this will not be a first time playthrough. I've played this game quite a bit before, but I will be starting a new career mode. So maybe this will be a bit of a tutorial. It'll kind of show my own techniques for playing this game, but and this will be completely stock, no mods, no DLC either. I own the Breaking Ground DLC, but it's just so buggy that I don't like to use it. So this will be fully stock. And now this is a new save. I did create the save earlier, and but all I've done is set up the alarm clock entries for the first few launch windows for the different planets. Although for Jool, Elu, and Dres, this is actually the second launch window because I know for a fact that I'm not going to be ready for the first launch window. I'm not going to have the right technologies unlocked. But for the second one, I should be fine, and I will be trying to get at least a probe to Duna in that first launch window. I've got 230 days to do it, but since I'll just be tooling around on Kerbin, the Mun, and Minimus during that time, I think I'll be all right. So let's get started. So this is the Kerbal Space Center. No upgrades yet, and let's start off by getting our first mission, which will be to. We can take two, so let's take these two first ones here, gather scientific data from Kerbin, and launch our first vessel. So we got a bit of a tooltip on how to use this. You can read that on your own. I'll get rid of it. Oh, and for those launch windows, I use a utility called Alex Moon's launch window calculator. So let me take a look here. The address for that I am going to put up on screen now. And you know, it's just a website that you can go to that you enter in your current date and the planet you're going to, the planet you're coming from, and it will tell you when the first available launch is going to be and give you some more details on how to set it up. So that is very useful because Kerbal Space Program does have a utility built in to create interplanetary transfers, but it doesn't work very well, so I prefer to use this utility whenever I can. So let's take away that overlay, and all right, so let's get started. So we've got a mission to launch a vessel, but we're not going to be doing that just yet because we don't need to. Because we've also got a mission to gather scientific data, and that scientific data will make it easier for us to launch our first vessel since we'll be able to unlock some more parts. So we got 4 pilots to start with, 4 astronauts to start with. We got Jebediah and Valentina that are both pilots, Bill Kerman, who's an engineer, and Bob Kerman, who's a scientist. We will be using a lot of Bob Kerman and not much of the other 3 to get started because when you have a scientist on board your vessel, you get more returns from the science you take back. So to get full returns, I'm going to put Bob on this vessel, and it's just a capsule with one science experiment, which is the only one we have unlocked, which is this mystery goo containment unit. So and that's all we need for this flight, which isn't actually going to fly. So let's get it launched. All right, so first we observe the mystery goo, and this dark gray bar is what we're actually going to get. The light gray bar is what we would have gotten if we didn't have a scientist on board, and then these blue bars are what we get just for transmitting it, which we're not going to do. So we keep that, and then we can get a crew report from the capsule. Any astronaut can make a crew report, but again, you get a little bit more. Well, actually, no, you get the same with the scientist. But we're not done, because we can also get out of the capsule, get an EVA report, and we cannot get a surface sample yet because I don't have that unlocked, but the EVA report should help anyway. So and now we just recover our vessel, and we've got 8 science points to work with. Or almost 9. So we've done our first EVA at home, and we've done an experiment at home. And we also ticked that one mission off of our list. Sorry, I had to sneeze right there. So now that's ticked off, let's just get our escape the atmosphere one, just to have it. And now that we've got some science points, we should be able to spend a few of them. We can only get one of these, but let's see here. Okay, this decoupler will be very useful because it'll mean that we don't have to have everything stay attached to our vessel as we go up. We can detach parts as we need to. And this thermometer will mean that's another science experiment we can run, so we can get more science from that. These antenna we won't need just yet, but they will be useful later on. The other one we can get is basic rocketry, which is, okay, a better engine, which won't really be useful if we can't separate it, because the weight from this engine will make the landing, it'll be more than our parachutes can handle, so this won't be useful on its own. We'll have to get the other one first, and this will be our first liquid fuel engine, which is very useful. And this engine in itself is a very useful engine. It's, we'll continue to use it right until the end game. So don't underestimate this swivel engine. It's very good, even for something you unlock so early. And the fuel tank for it. But we're not going to get that yet because it's more important to get this decoupler. So we'll get that. And then we will... Actually, no. Let's put 2 thermometers on this because we can get the temperature on the ground and in the air. We're not going to be going far enough into the air for to get a third reading, so 2 should be enough. We'll need the parachute when to come back down so that we don't crash. And our decoupler and our engine. And now we got to make sure our staging is right. And I like to put the decoupler and the parachute on the same stage so that the parachute is prepared immediately. I don't have to worry about forgetting to hit the spacebar a second time. And we've still got, we still got Bob loaded into the vessel. So let's go. And now, because Bob is not a pilot, he can't really fly the plane very well. Not the plane, the rocket, because this is not a plane, it's a rocket. But he can't fly it very well. But that's not going to be a problem here since we're just going straight up and then straight back down. But it will be a problem later on. But let's just get going. Oh, and I forgot to take the temperature on the ground. Let's see how high up we get. Our apoapsis is 20 kilometers, so that might actually get us into another layer of the atmosphere. Let's see if we go above. That probably won't. I'm going to try again at 15 kilometers. No. And we're not going to make it to 20, so that'll be as good as we can get. But basically, because because we don't technically have a pilot, we just have a scientist. Even something as simple as holding in one direction we can't really do, so that makes flying very difficult, which isn't, again, too much of a problem now, since all we're doing is going straight up and then straight back down again. But it will come into play a little bit more later on. So now we've gotten rid of our engine. Now we're falling, but the parachute is already staged. We're just not in a thick enough part of the atmosphere for it to deploy, but that should be coming up in just a few moments. And we can speed up time a bit. When we're in the atmosphere like this, we use physics warp, which still does all the physics calculations and everything. Once we're in space, we can use proper time warp, which is a lot faster. This one maxes out at 4 times, but that's enough for what we're doing here. And I don't like to leave it running when the parachute deploys, because sometimes it gets the physics wrong, and when something important like a big change of speed is happening, that's not a problem. That's just our rocket crashing into the ground, but we don't need it anymore. But yeah, I don't like to leave physics warp on when the parachutes deploy, because it can cause bugs. But let's just look at our log to make sure. Yeah, it just collided into the surface. It didn't collide into any of our buildings, which is good, because we don't have very much money to repair them yet. But yeah, let's recover our vessel. And we've got quite a bit more science now, which means now we can unlock that new engine. Well, those 2 new engines, and we can probably unlock something else. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, we got another engine, the Reliant. This is still useful, but it's not going to be useful right now. It's very good for add-on booster stages, but the rockets we send up right now will be so small that they won't need them. The Thumper has some uses. It's another solid fuel rocket, and the difference between solid fuel rockets and liquid fuel rockets is like solid fuel is what we've been using, and it has the rocket attached to the fuel source, and the big difference between it and a liquid fuel rocket is once it's lit, it's lit. You can't do anything about it until it runs out of fuel, which is fine for what we've been doing, but later on we're going to want more control. But so yeah, this solid fuel rocket, it has its uses, but I don't use it very much. And this is just another fuel tank for these liquid fuel rockets, and we can get the same effect by putting 2 small fuel tanks together, but it is more convenient to just use 1 tank often. And there's limitations to how many parts you can have on your vessel until you get your vehicle assembly building fully upgraded. So having a larger tank instead of 2 small tanks can be useful for that. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be unlocking that. Oh, we can unlock that anyway, because it's 20 points. This is these have uses, but I don't think we're going to be using them just yet. These are good for stabilizing your craft, but I don't think we're gonna be building anything that uses them until we've got a few more science experiments done. And these are good for if you have like a side stage, a booster rocket on the side of your vessel. This will make it aerodynamic, but we're not going to be doing that just yet, so I'm not going to unlock that yet either. And this is actually the only one we can afford to unlock. And well, it's got a new science experiment, which is important. But beyond that, it doesn't really have anything that's going to be too useful to us to start with. So yeah, I'm going to save my science, and because yeah, I didn't actually do all the science that I could have done in this flight, because I didn't take any temperature readings on the ground. So I'll do that. That'll give us a few more points to work with. And that might get us over 20 points, which will let us... not quite, but that's okay. We got one more thing we can do. Now, technically, every one... when you run a science experiment, it really only works once for each biome. Biome is like a section of a planet or a section of a moon. But at the Kerbal Space Center, each building here actually counts as a separate biome. So I could try to cart my science experiments to each one of these. That's not really practical. It takes ages to do, and it's just not very fun. But we have two launch pads, essentially. We've got the rocket launch pad, which is what we've been using, and we've got the space plane runway. It'll be a while before we actually build any space planes, but we can still set up our capsule there with our science experiments and get a little bit more science that way. So let's put our mystery goo on one side and our thermometer on the other side. Now, normally this would be very unbalanced and make the rocket hard to fly, but since we're not flying, that's not a problem. And we'll put Bob back onto the vessel because he's going to be... he's going to be our scientist, and he's going to make sure we get all the points from these. So let's launch. And do our crew report, our temperature reading, and our mystery goo reading. And get him out of the capsule, do an EVA report. Get back into the capsule and recover, and that should give us quite a few points to work with. Yeah, now we got 29 points, which is good. So, yeah, let's go with, oh, which one was it that I want? Did I already get the... Yeah, I did already get the hammer. So I don't technically need any of these to do the next stage, but let's see, what'll be most useful? I don't need that, don't need that. That could be useful, but not for this next flight, but it'll be useful later on. And this will give us more science. Nothing else here is that useful for the next flights I have in mind, but more science will let us get more points. Yeah, let's do more science. And while we've got that set up, let's get our science. Still haven't gone to space, but this is important because a big problem with a career mode game is that early on, you never quite have enough science. You never quite have enough science to unlock the parts you want to unlock. So you gotta do everything you can to get as much science as you can at the beginning. Let's put Bob back on the ship because he's by far the most useful crew member at this point. Get some science. And recover. Okay, so now we're at 21. So we should be able to unlock a bit more. And let's get our messages first. This is all from our flight. Got a bunch of speed records because we had never moved anything before, so of course every speed we reach is going to be breaking a record. And we launched our first vessel, and we get our messages saying that we completed that mission. So between these two, this will be more useful because it'll mean we've got this fuel tank. So let's research that. Now let's put a couple of goo containers on this thing. Yeah. I'm just kind of thinking out loud of what would be the best way to get science from this flight. No, actually, yeah. Sorry, I'm just debating what would be the quickest way to get science. All right. So, hopefully this will give us enough power to get off the ground. Then we can stage away this solid fuel booster onto our liquid fuel booster. And I like to have the staging of one of our old stage and the activation of the new stage on the same stage, so that I don't have to hit the spacebar a second time. And hopefully this will get us out of the atmosphere. It won't get us into orbit. We're going to need a lot more power for that, but hopefully this will get us out of the atmosphere, and that will tick off that mission requirement. So let's go. I want to go on a slight curve this time, but I got to be very careful with my piloting because I have to do it all manually. Even something as simple as keeping myself pointed in the right direction, I have to do by hand because Bob can't fly for beans. Okay, and I got a lot more control now because this thing is the swivel engine can be controlled. Well, it swivels, so it gives us more control than we had before. And I don't know. Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. I gave this one too many beans, so let's start this again. Now let's get into maneuver mode to start with because I needed that information and I couldn't see it. But yeah, let's get on a bit more of a curve. Okay. Let's try to keep pointing forward, and that yellow circle indicates which way is forward. And I'm trying to keep pointing towards it, but because there's a lot of air, a lot of wind that's knocking me off course. Okay, and I've given it enough beans. Oh no, and I'm pointing in the wrong direction. Hopefully I'll still be able to get out of the atmosphere though. I'm going backwards, but my apoapsis, which is the top, the maximum height I'm going to reach, that's above the atmosphere. The atmosphere stops at 70 kilometers, and I'm more than 100 kilometers, so this will still get me up there. Let me get the crew report from the upper atmosphere and the mystery goo reading from the upper atmosphere. Okay, and now the air is thin enough that I can get control again. Oh, and I can't EVA because I don't have the right parts, the right stuff unlocked, but that should be fine. And I am now in space. So let's get another Mystery Goo reading. Let's get another crew report reading. Oh, I can't get another crew report reading because I can only hold one. I don't think I have enough fuel to make it into orbit, but let's see, just for curiosity's sake. Now, to get into orbit, what I'd want to do is thrust prograde. Prograde is the direction that I'm moving in. I want to be pointing in that direction too, which means I want to be pointed towards the center of this yellow circle. And then turn on the engines. And I'm out of fuel and nowhere close to being in orbit, but it was interesting to try anyway. So now that I'm out of fuel, I don't need this part anymore, so I'll stage it away. And oh yeah, this is tough to control. But now that I'm in space, I can use proper time warp. So let's get going at 5 times speed, 10 times speed. Okay. And let's get back pointed retrograde because I want to be coming in wide end first. At a certain point, the air resistance should be enough to keep me pointing in the right direction, but that's not happening yet, and I don't want to be going in point first, because that would be bad. Okay. We're starting to get some re-entry flames, and yeah, okay, re-entry is pointing us, we're wobbling around a bit, but it's keeping us generally pointing in the right direction. I'm not touching any controls now, so it's just air resistance keeping us steady. Do some physics warping, and when I'm at 1,000 meters above ground, that'll be when my parachute opens, so I'm going to want to get out of physics warp when that happens. And now we just have to get back down onto the ground. Okay, so now that we're on the ground, can I EVA? Yes, I can, which means I can pull the data out and then go back in, and now the data will still be on the capsule, but it won't be considered a crew report anymore. It'll just be in our normal data storage on the capsule, which means I can take another crew report from the water. That'll give us a couple more points. And let's see, we got some speed records. And our first time reaching space. And our escape the atmosphere goal is complete. Let's recover and see how much science we have. $52. Okay, we can unlock some good stuff with that, I think. So what can we get? Advanced rocketry. Oh, we can get the Terrier engine. The Terrier is a very good engine. It's small, it doesn't have that much thrust, but it's very light, very efficient. It's very good for actually working in space. So once we're in orbit, or even in the upper atmosphere, this will be very useful for us, and it'll give us an another fuel tank as well, which will be nice. These should have fireworks. I don't use them very often. They don't really do anything useful, but seeing fireworks is nice sometimes. I don't know if I'm gonna actually do any of those on stream. And then this Thud engine is a side-mounted engine. Instead of mounting it at the bottom of your stack, at the bottom of your fuel tank, you mount it on the side. So it's good if the main engine that you're using doesn't put out enough power. You can mount these to the side of your fuel tank and get a bit more thrust. And I don't use them that much, but they're good in a pinch sometimes. And yeah, that's good. I hope I don't need that too soon, but yeah, let's unlock this because that Terrier engine is pretty much essential for operating in space at this point in the game. I could do it with the swivel, but it's so big and heavy and it's not nearly as efficient. So let's see what missions we have. Oh, we got a lot of missions now. We got the regular missions, not just the explore missions. But our explore mission, and from now on, we're only going to have one explore mission at a time. And it'll be the game kind of trying to direct us to the next goal. It doesn't often get it right. It often gives us missions that really make no sense at the point of the game we're at. But for now, orbiting Kerbin, that does make sense. So let's accept that mission. And what else do we have? VIP. These missions are going to be important soon, but not sure if I should take it or not, because I can only take 2 missions at the moment. Okay, now these focus observational surveys, they basically mean go to a bunch of points and take crew reports. These are incredibly annoying to do. I'd advise against ever accepting them. Focus and focus temperature survey, that's the same thing, but use a thermometer instead of just a crew report. Also very annoying to do, because you just have to go to a bunch of arbitrary points on the map, and it can be tough to get there, and it's not any fun. Doesn't give you much in the way of rewards. I usually just let those pass by. Now these they might trick you, because it says haul a parachute into flight above Kerbin, and you might think, okay, all I have to do for this is to haul a parachute into flight. And no, that's not what you have to do, because you have to get at a certain altitude, at a certain speed, and often you're not going to be at that speed, at that altitude. So these I tend not to accept either. Same with this haul a Terrier into orbit. Oh, into orbit of Kerbin. Oh, but we got this altitude 510 to 520. That's a pretty high orbit. Not a very useful orbit to be at. Low orbit, just skimming the atmosphere, is just above 70 kilometers. I usually put space stations at about 250 kilometers. And then once you're above that, you're on your way to the Mun or Minmus. There's not much of a reason to go into a circular orbit at 500 kilometers. So again, this is another mission that kind of tricks you, that you might think will be fairly easy, but it's not. It's not difficult as in it presenting an engineering challenge, but it is very annoying to do because it makes you do something that you otherwise would have no reason to do. Got another haul into flight above Kerbin. Test a solid fuel booster orbiting Kerbin. You don't want to carry these solid fuel boosters into orbit. They work very well on the ground because they're cheap, they provide a lot of thrust, but they're heavy. And they're also uncontrollable. Once you lit one up, they just keep burning until they run out of fuel, which is fine when you're launching, because that's what you want. When you're in orbit, you're usually going to want to have more precision, and this doesn't give you precision. So this is another thing that it's giving you a mission to do something that you would have no good reason to do. So I'm not going to take that. And yeah, same thing here. Hammer boosters are useful, but they're useful as your first stage. They're useful as the first engine you light off when you're getting off the ground, and this is specifically telling you not to do that. So I'm not going to take that mission. So maybe this VIP mission will be useful. I won't be doing it right away because I don't have a good vessel. Actually, no, I won't take this because there will be a bunch of these later on. But these VIP missions are useful to take early in the game when they're only asking you to do suborbital or orbital missions of Kerbin, because you'll get other missions to rescue astronauts from space. And if you want to do a rescue, you're going to have a free seat to bring them down in. And to start the game, the one capsule we have so far is a command pod with one seat. So you can control a vessel from that pod, but you have to have a pilot in the vessel. And the pilot will take up the seat, so you won't be able to fit anyone else on. And so you can't do a rescue with that. Later on, we'll be unlocking probe cores, which are unmanned kind of pilot substitutes. And we could stick one of those on the top of our command pod, and that means we will have an extra seat. So we could do rescues with that, but then we'll be carrying a command pod that we don't need, because command pods are heavier and more expensive than normal passenger pods would be. Now, passenger pods can't control the vessel, but they can carry passengers, and they're light and they're cheap. But the smallest one that we get is for 2 people. So that's why these VIP missions are useful, because you can take a rescue mission to rescue an astronaut from orbit, and then that will need that you'll need 1 extra seat, and then you can put this VIP on the second extra seat and make a little bit of extra money from the mission. And let's see, this one expires in 2 days. Yeah, I think we can get a lot done in 2 days, so I'm not going to take it just yet, but we might be taking it later on. So, yeah, now we want to get into orbit. First of all, can we upgrade? Yeah, we can upgrade this for a reasonable price, so yeah, I'll do that. And I'll do this, because for going into orbit, we're going to want to create maneuver nodes. And we're going to have our patch comics visible. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's go into orbit. So the first stages of these are good enough, but I don't need these mystery goo experiments anymore, because we already got one from the upper atmosphere and already got one from orbit. So let's put a thermometer on here and a barometer on here. I don't think we've flown with the barometer yet, so that'll be useful to have. And put our Terrier on here, which is a very good engine for in space. And what can we get off the ground with? Do we have our side decouplers? No, we don't. Okay, this might be tough, but let's give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we can revert the flight, which is basically loading a save, an automatic save from when we took off. So if it looks like we're going to crash, we can save ourselves that way. So let's launch on a big, giant, solid fuel rocket with no pilot, just a scientist. So, and no fins. Oh, and I forgot to set up my staging properly. You can do that here, but it means if I want to retry the flight, I'll have to do that every time. So hopefully I won't have to retry this flight. So let's get going. Okay, luckily it's not putting out that much thrust, so that makes the missile more controllable. this get us into orbit? That's the question. Okay, this is getting us pretty high into the atmosphere, which is good. And I'm gonna leave it attached for now and not kick in the Terrier until we get a bit further up, because the Terrier works best in a thin atmosphere. And also because our ship is so long, aerodynamics is actually keeping us steady, which won't happen if I detach our solid rocket engine here. So I want to get up high enough that the atmosphere is thin, so so we won't be fighting the atmosphere. So our apoapsis will be 50 kilometers. Let's detach it at 40. Oh, and I should be taking science readings from the upper atmosphere. And a crew report from the upper atmosphere. Oh, I already got a crew report from the upper atmosphere, so I'll take a crew report from space. Okay, our apoapsis is in space now, but let's give it a little bit more just to be safe. Okay, 75, that should be good. So now I just have to keep it pointing in the right direction until we actually get into space. Oh, and we got a ton of fuel, so getting into orbit shouldn't be a problem. We've got 1,711 meters per second of delta V. That's our main measure of fuel. Well, our main measure of what we're going to be using our fuel for, since depending on your weight, the same amount of fuel will give you different amounts of delta V. But the important part is that 1,711 meters per second of delta V is more than enough to reach orbit. So we're in space. Let's review our report and delete it. Let's get an actual crew report from space. And let's wait until we're a bit closer to our apoapsis. Can we make a... Yeah, I'm making a maneuver node here. I don't have time to explain what it is, but it's very useful. Okay, so now we got our maneuver node, which will give us this little point to point to. So I just have to make sure I'm pointing in the general direction of this blue marker. And the bar on the right-hand side of the nav ball will tell me how much thrust I have to give until I've accomplished the maneuver. And the maneuver should be enough to get me into orbit. Oh, and I'm in orbit now. Okay, good. So, I've achieved orbit. So let's actually do an orbit of Kerbin, just so that we can say we did. And now let's get out of orbit. So now I have to point retrograde, which is this yellow marker here. You can tell the difference between it and the prograde one because these little bits on the side are on a diagonal, and it's also got an X in the middle, which you can't really see too well, but it's there. So now let's get ourselves out of orbit and slow down as much as we can. It's the amount of re-entry we're going to have to do. Use up all our fuel. And now we are out of fuel. So we're out of orbit. Well, I mean, we're still in space, but now we're on a trajectory that'll bring us back in contact with the ground. So let's get rid of our rocket, because we don't need it anymore. It's out of fuel. And, oh, try to keep ourselves pointing bottom down. Okay, we're in the atmosphere. You can tell because the music stopped. But the atmosphere is still too thin to really help keeping us pointing in the right direction. So I got to keep showing my piloting skills, which aren't that great. Especially since I'm piloting with a keyboard here. But I just need to be pointing in the right general direction and make sure that we don't end up going pointy end down, because that's not what this thing is designed to do. That might cause our parachute to burn up, which we really don't want. Okay, now the atmosphere is keeping us relatively steady, so we should be fine. We're gonna start seeing the re-entry flame effects soon, although we might not, since we burned off so much speed with our extra fuel. But at any rate, let's turn up time warp a little bit. Okay, and the parachute is going to come out at about 16 kilometers. It might be a little bit too fast. Yeah, we're a little bit too fast, so it'll wait until we're down to a lower speed, and there it goes. Now, like I said a couple of times before, I like to not be in time warp when the parachute opens, but to tell when it's going to open, I'm going to have to switch over to above ground level altitude, because before we were above sea level, which is important for determining things like air pressure and where space starts. But for determining when your parachute is going to deploy, you want to be showing your above ground level altitude, because we're over the ground. If we were over the ocean, they'd both be the same, it wouldn't matter, but we're over the ground right now, so we're a bit closer to the ground than we are to sea level. So this will tell us when we get to 1,000. That explosion is nothing to worry about, that's just our rocket hitting the ground. It apparently survived re-entry. Oh, I should have gone out and got some more science from the desert, because I don't have any desert science yet, but too late now. Now we're back up to 56 science. Should be able to unlock something useful with that. And let's see what our next explore contract is. Explore the Mun. Oh, we need to do a flyby and return. So these flybys are not going to be manned, and actually now we can accept 7 missions, so I will accept that VIP mission because we upgraded our mission control. So I'm going to accept this one because that'll be useful when we start rescuing astronauts, which we don't have any missions for that yet, but we probably will soon. But this flyby will probably be done with an unmanned vessel, unless I can't unlock the right parts for that. Okay, so this would allow us to do unmanned craft. The problem is that this also doesn't have SAS, it doesn't have any kind of autopilot to keep steady, and so we'd be in the same situation we've been with our Bob missions, which means that we wouldn't be able to actually keep our vessel steady, which would make it very difficult to control. But it will also unlock our Science Junior and our battery. Those will both be kind of necessary for a Mun mission. See, now we're in that problem I was talking about, where we don't have quite enough science to do what I want to do next. The other option would be, yeah, better wings, which have their uses, but I don't really need it. This is that crew cabin. This is that passenger compartment that can carry 2 people that I was talking about. That'll be useful when we start rescuing people and carrying passenger missions, but I'm not going to get that just yet. This will be another coupler for, I think that's for larger rockets. Maybe it's for smaller rockets, I don't remember. And this is an adapter for our medium-sized rockets that we've been using to the smaller rockets. So that makes me think maybe this is for the smaller rocket. And this is it holds a rocket in place when you're launching it. I don't use it that often, but if you have a weird rocket with a weirdly shaped bottom that doesn't hold steady on its own, then these things can be useful. And this is structural fuselage. It's just filler. It just takes up space, which sometimes you need, but not often. And here's an extra flag that we can place anywhere, but a lot of the parts already have flags on them, so I don't use this very often. But no, I won't be unlocking this. What else can we unlock? Okay, yeah, we got our extra wings. These wings have control surfaces on them, so they do give you some more control. They don't just stabilize you. And this is a reaction wheel, which is useful for controlling yourself in space. This is the smallest one, but it's still useful. But the capsules that we've been sending up already have a reaction wheel built in, so as long as we keep using those, then those aren't really needed. So I think, yeah, I'm going to unlock this. So maybe our flyby is going to have to be manned. And I would also like to unlock this, but I don't have the science for it. But now that we've unlocked the Science Junior, that's another science experiment. So let's clear all this out and attach a Science Junior to our rocket here. Actually, let's just attach it to the top. This doesn't make sense for something that's going to actually fly, but this is not going to actually fly. So let's put Bob in our rocket. I don't remember if I've unlocked the right building to let Bob take surface samples, but if he can, then that'll be even more science that we can get from this. So let's conduct our material study. Now, one thing about this Science Junior and the mystery group containers that we were using before is that you can only use them once on any given mission unless you have a scientist that can reset it. But the scientist actually has to go up next to it to reset it. I can't just have him sitting in the capsule and reset the experiment. He's going to have to go outside. So let's do that. That won't actually be useful at the moment, but just to show how it works. I can collect the data and then restore it, and then we can do the experiment again. But that won't be useful here because it'll just give us the same data. So now let's see, can we collect a... No, we can't collect a surface sample. So let's get back on board. And I think we've already taken a crew report from here. Yeah, so there's not much point in doing that. But if we recover the vessel, that should give us a little bit more science. So now we're up to 19. Let's do that again from the space plane runway. Get this pointed upward and get our Science Junior on top, also pointed upward. Put Bob inside it. And see, Bob has 1 star here. Various things that your astronauts do will level them up, but you only get the extra experience points the first time you do that thing. So I got extra experience points from orbiting around Kerbin that let me level up to level 1. I was at level 0 before, which isn't that useful for scientists, but it's very useful for pilots. But if I were to take this guy into orbit again, it wouldn't give me any more experience points because he's already been in orbit. So let's launch again. and get our science from the Science Junior. And I don't actually need to take it and reset it. I was just demonstrating that earlier. If we recover the vessel, that will get our science. So now we got 26, so I should be able to unlock this stability thing. This will be very useful because it'll let us mount boosters to the sides of our rockets. We can use that to decouple them, and then use this to make sure that they're not overly unaerodynamic. So let's research that. Okay, so what I really need is this electrics. This is another probe core. It's another part that will let us send out unmanned vessels, but this one does have some autopilot. All it can do is hold steady in one direction, but just having that ability is incredibly useful, and it makes vessels with this kind of thing actually worthwhile to use. But I think I'm going to have to send out another very difficult to pilot craft, and I'm going to have to send this one around the Mun because I can't afford to unlock this yet. So let's go. I'm going to save my game here just to be safe. I'm going to leave the quick save slot open because you can do that with just hitting the F5 key, but I'm going to set this as quick save number 1, which is normally the second quick save slot, but I'm just going to use that for now, and let's go to the Mun. Let's do our equivalent of the Artemis 2 mission, because we'll be going around the Mun. We're not going to be going into orbit around it. We're just going to be doing a flyby of it, and I'm going to try to get some science from that. And and we've got a science container now, which will be useful. That'll mean that if we use a reusable experiment, which technically all of our experiments will be, since we're carrying a scientist with us. Actually, before I launch, let me see if I can go on EVA yet. Disembark only on Kerbin, but I've got money for that, so let's yeah, good. Okay. With this, I'll be able to do an EVA even when I'm in space, which means I'll be able to reset those experiments, which will be very useful to do. So let's unlock that. So I had put this on the top of my craft, which is useful sometimes, but I don't want to do that this time because I'm also going to be carrying a mystery goo container with me. And since we can reset these now, I only want to carry one, because carrying more than one would be a waste of money, a waste of weight. So I'll be EVAing to reset it when I need to. The thing is, this is 0.05 tons, and I can put it on the side of the vessel, but this will mean that the vessel is unbalanced, which we don't want. But this is also 0.05 tons, and it's useful to have, so I will put this on the other side, and that will balance things out. So let's, we've got a bigger fuel tank, so we don't need to use 2 of them anymore. And our Terrier, which, as I've said before, is a very, very useful engine. Useful at the beginning of the game, still useful right up to the end of the game, really, for some purposes. And now we can do a kind of ship configuration that I like to do, which is we put a swivel as our main engine, but that won't be enough to give us enough thrust to get into space, or into the upper atmosphere at least, where the Terrier works best. So I will be putting these side decouplers on it, one on each side. I used the symmetry, which I activated with the X key, to make this bilaterally symmetrical, which means two-way symmetrical. And I will be putting one of these solid fuel boosters on each one of these, and I will be putting a nose cone to make sure that these are still reasonably aerodynamic. So let's hope that this works, and let's put in some other science experiments. We don't want that to be bilaterally symmetrical because we only want one. And okay, so we get 4 different science experiments, a way to collect the science from each of those. And so let's get going. Oh, one other thing I want to do is, because our pilot isn't a very good pilot, he's not technically a pilot at all, I want to put some fins on here that will let us use the atmosphere to stabilize us. This is also useful if your vessel isn't naturally very aerodynamic, but in this case, if we had a good pilot or a probe core with good SAS, then we wouldn't need these, but since we have neither of those things, we do. And I also didn't check our staging, so we want our main swivel engine and our 2 booster engines to be going off at the same time, and then our next stage will be to detach our booster engines when they're out of fuel. And then we want our space engine, our Terrier, to activate at the same time that we detach this part. And we want our parachute to activate at the same time that we attach the rest of this. So now we should be able to get going. Oh, and another mistake I made is we've got Jebediah on the ship, which would make flying it a lot easier since he's a pilot and he can at least hold the ship steady at this point. He can't do much else because he's level 0, but because I want to maximize the amount of science we get back, I'm going to put our scientist on here, which will make piloting more difficult, but it will pay off in the long run. And let's go. Okay, now our fins are stabilizing us, so it's automatically going towards prograde. I thought I was going to automatically go towards prograde, but it doesn't look like I am. So I'm going to have to do a bit of manual flying here. Might be on too shallow of a course, but let's see. I want to get into the upper atmosphere before I switch engines. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna have to revert this flight. So yeah, let's do that. I've got muscle memory to try to activate SAS, but since we have no SAS, we keep getting that orange message. Okay, this should be enough. Or it might be too much. I don't remember exactly how much curve I gave this the last time, but yeah, this is curving in a little bit more than I'd like, I think because these two are the same weight, but this one is a little bit less aerodynamic, so that's causing a bit of a problem. But if we can get into the upper atmosphere, that won't be as much of a problem. If we can get into space, then that won't be a problem at all. Do we have have enough fuel to get into the upper atmosphere. No, we don't. So I gave it too much of a curve on launch. Let's try this one more time. Let's give it a little bit of curve. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully this will get us into space. Let's turn ourselves around. Yeah, so that we're facing the right way. Flip this to maneuver mode. That other mode isn't very useful. I don't know why it's the default. It's annoying, but what are you going to do? I think I gave this a little bit too little curve, but that'll still get us into space, just not on the absolute most efficient pathway. But I don't really care at this point. I just want to get into space. Okay. So, yeah, now we're... when you get above 36 kilometers, it switches the nav ball into orbit mode, which means it stops taking the rotation of the planet into account, and just lists your speed relative to the planet that you're orbiting as if it were a fixed point. So let's time warp up to about 60 kilometers. I like to start applying extra thrust when I'm 5 kilometers away from my apoapsis, which I am right now. And stage and keep going. Okay, so we're in space, and let's do a maneuver node to get into orbit. These maneuver nodes let you plan out your maneuvers more easily, so this one will let me know exactly how much thrust I have to give to get into orbit and when I can stop thrusting. This orbit isn't getting up high, it's getting fast. It's getting fast enough that, because gravity is still a thing here. Even though we're in space, gravity is still a factor. We're still falling towards the ground, but what we want to do is fall to the ground and miss. We need to be going fast enough that we miss the ground. This would be a lot easier if I had a pilot or a probe core with SAS, but we don't have a probe core unlocked, and I want all of our science, so can't use a pilot yet. And we're in space. And we're in orbit, and we're in a pretty good orbit. We got our apoapsis and periapsis at about the same height, which means we're going in a circle, which makes the next parts easier to plan out. So we're going to the Mun, but we're going into a flyby of it, which means we want to do... Oh, we've got... Okay, I actually don't think you're a real person. So, Dave Errett, sorry if you are a real person, but you really don't seem like one. You really seem like a spammer trying to pump up your Discord numbers. So, yeah, unless you give me enough responses to make me think that you're a real person, I'm going to report that message when the stream is done, and I am going to blur your message out on the YouTube bot like I usually do with spammers. This is a new type of spammer, but usually I get spammers trying to sell me artificial viewers, but still it looks like a spammer. Okay, so yeah, we got our maneuver node, which we can move to different parts of our orbit. And here we're now at this point of our orbit. If we execute that maneuver node, we'll be within the sphere of influence of the Mun. Now, the way spheres of influence work is Kerbal Space Program doesn't actually calculate gravity 100% realistically. It doesn't have every object exerting a force on every other object, which is how gravity normally works. Well, gravity always works because gravity is a fundamental law of physics. Instead, it gives each body a sphere of influence. So when you get close enough to the Mun, you're in its sphere of influence, so you'll be affected by its gravity, and you won't be affected by Kerbin's gravity anymore. And if you're far enough from both the Mun and from Kerbin to have escape velocity, then you'll be in the sun's sphere of influence. And if you get to another planet, then you'll be in that planet's sphere of influence, and so on and so forth. So right now, this trajectory will get us into the Mun's sphere of influence, but it won't be a very good flyby because our return, our periapsis, which is the lowest point in our orbit, is still going to be above the atmosphere. So it won't allow us to land unless we start applying more thrust, which I don't want to do, is because we have enough fuel to get to the Mun, but we don't have much more than that. So I'm gonna keep moving this along, and okay, yeah, we'll get to a point where our periapsis is that's still above the atmosphere, but if I go a bit further, now it's below the atmosphere. But I think I might be using a bit more fuel than I need for that, so let's ease off a bit. This is our retrograde handle, which means we'll be applying less thrust prograde, or if we were actually going retrograde, we'd be applying more thrust retrograde, but it just means we'll be using less fuel. And yeah, let's get this set up. I want to use as little fuel as I can while still having this this flyby trajectory. So just trying to get the maneuver node and positioned and with the right amount of thrust to put us on the right course. I want us to have our periapsis to be about 30 kilometers. That should give us a nice return trajectory. And that's too much. If I right-click the periapsis, it'll cause it to stay on screen, which is what I want. Okay, this should be about right. Let's just make sure. Yeah, 29, that's fine. So, yeah, if I can execute this burn, then I should be on a nice return trajectory around the back of the Mun, and then back to Kerbin, back on a re-entry trajectory. And I don't actually have a heat shield. Hopefully, now this capsule can withstand a lot of heat on its own, and hopefully that combined with the fuel I have left over that I'll be using to slow down, hopefully that'll be enough. Oh, but before I do that, and I should have done this before I set up the maneuver node, but I'm going to take a material study from space, a mystery goo from space. Have we already done that? Yeah, we've already done that, but we can get a little bit more from that. And log our pressure, log our temperature, and actually, no, I don't want to do an EVA just now because that'll knock us off course a little bit, so I'm just going to use this to collect all of our science, and then I'll reset these experiments later on. So, So now I'm going to do a quick save because it will be very easy for me to screw up this burn. But hopefully I won't. And I'll do a time warp to get us to the burn a bit faster. And that'll automatically get us close to the burn, to a minute away from the burn. So now we're pretty close to our burn time, just a few seconds away. Let's do a little bit more time warp, but at a reasonably low rate so we don't overshoot. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Make a rocket go now. Fully manual control doing this, which is tough. But you only have to do this at the beginning of the game, and you really don't have to do this. Okay, I overshot a little bit, but I think we'll still be okay. I'll just have to burn a little bit retrograde. Actually, since I'm off course now anyway, let me just look at our course. Yeah, so this will not get us where we want to go. So since we're off course anyway, I'm going to go on EVA. I'm going to restore and restore. Okay, now let's get back into the ship and let's look at our map and just give it a little bit of throttle as we get our periapsis down. And that'll be good. Okay, good. Now the only issue will be if let's see. If I run out of electricity. I don't think that'll be a problem because these manned vessels don't take too much power. If I had a probe core on here, which would make piloting a lot easier, but it would take electricity, and I would need some way of recharging my electricity, like solar panels or something, but I don't have any solar panels unlocked yet. And I do have a battery unlocked, which I probably should have taken with me, but too late for that now. So let's get up to a bit higher altitude. Okay, now we're in an area that is considered high above Kerbin. Before we were in low Kerbin orbit, so we can do our experiments again. Let's do a crew report. Yeah, high over Kerbin. And let's do our material study. High over Kerbin. Let's do our mystery goo. High over Kerbin. Our barometer reading. High over Kerbin. And our temperature reading. High over Kerbin. Let's collect all that. Let's EVA and restore our experiments. I don't think this is actually knocking us off course because I'm still holding onto the ladder, but if I were to actually let go and try to use my jetpack to move around, then we would be knocked off course a little bit when I come back to the ship. But let's just make sure, yeah, we're still on our course. So let's go up to the Mun. Go into time warp until we get way up there. Now, even though we're way, way, way higher over Kerbin now, it doesn't matter because we're still technically just considered to be high over Kerbin, same as we were when we were just 300 kilometers away. And now we cross into the Mun's Sphere of Influence, which is another area that we can collect science from, so let's do that. Oh, and I didn't take an EVA report before. I'll do that on the way down. So let's EVA, let's restore. Although I don't actually need to restore. Oh, wait, no. I didn't collect the data, so let's... Oh, and I can't collect the data because I can't control this vessel because I don't have a pilot on it, or I don't have an astronaut on here. So let's... What? Why did it... I must have lost my data from not having a... an astronaut on board. I didn't know that happened, but apparently it does. Maybe you lose your data if you lose control of a vessel. Or not? I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure I didn't collect the data, but somehow it thinks it did. I did. I don't know. Let's EVA again. Let's do an EVA report, which gives me a little bit more science. Let's restore our... Oh, that's not what... That was the wrong button. You can close the doors. That makes it look like it's restored, but it's not restored. And I think I've already got this Mr. Goo observation on my experiment container. But let's just try collecting... Yeah, got our EVA report, but we didn't get the other two. So since we're... since we haven't collected the data, we can reset instead of restoring. Although... we don't have another experiment to run with these, so it doesn't really matter anyway. And another thing I'm going to do is, because this experiment container is not on the part of the ship that's going to remain attached as we re-enter the atmosphere, I'm going to have to get out and then collect all of our data from... Oh, I can't get close enough. Let me... Yeah, okay. So this is what I was talking about you know, going on EVA with the jetpack, and hopefully this doesn't knock us off course too much, because it'll add the little bit of momentum that we got from the jetpack to the momentum of our ship. But now we got all of our science in the capsule, which means we'll take it with us as we land. So let's see what our periapsis is now. 30 kilometers, so we were knocked off course a little bit, but we're still on a good course. So let's go back into time warp. And our periapsis is 4 hours away. Let's warp to this point here, which will get us just before we re-enter the atmosphere. Oh, but before I do that, because like I said, I forgot to take an EVA report before, so let's take that EVA report now, get a little bit more science, and let's check on our periapsis. Still good. 30 kilometers. Oh no, that was bad. Okay, sometimes when you try to warp to a point, it actually warps you to the next point on that orbit. That's just a bug in Kerbal Space Program. And so we're gonna have to, we wasted a day, which is actually annoying because I want to unlock, I want to get as much science as possible, as quickly as possible, so that I can send a mission to Duna during our first transfer window, because the planets have to be lined up in a particular way to travel between them. Well, I mean, you could travel between them if they're not lined up, but you'd be using way more fuel. But if they're at a particular position relative to each other, then you can get there without using too much fuel. And that's what those transfer windows are showing me. Okay, so now let's, we're close to the atmosphere. Let's use up all of our fuel to slow down. Okay, we're out of fuel. We're in the atmosphere. Let's, hopefully we don't explode. That's a good mantra, generally. Hopefully you won't explode. We're heating up. That's not good, but as long as this gauge doesn't get all the way to the top, we should be okay. All the way to the right, not all the way to the top. But, and that's the rest of our rocket exploding. That's fine. It's supposed to do that. Okay, we're slowing down. And I'm looking at that heat gauge. I don't know if it's going up slowly or down slowly, but I think we'll be all right. Because the closer we are to the top, the slower it is to heat up. And yeah, I think we're cooling down. I think we're cooling down. Once we're below about 1800, then I usually feel pretty safe. Below 1800 meters per second, this reading here, and you know, we're below that. I think we're going to be all right. I would have felt safer if I'd thought to put a heat shield on this, but I didn't. But we survived anyway. Now our parachute should deploy at about 1600, unless we're going too fast, in which case we'll have to wait a little while longer, but as long as it deploys... Okay, there we are, 1600, well, a little bit more than 1600. So let's physics warp down to 1000. Since we're over the ocean, we don't have to worry about the difference between sea level and ground level. And like I have said earlier, I don't like to have my parachutes deploy when I'm in physics warp. For a small craft like this, it generally doesn't cause too much of a problem, but the main rule of thumb in Kerbal Space Program is to do everything that you can to avoid bugs and glitches, because there are a lot of them in this game. I was really hoping that Kerbal Space Program 2 would fix some of them. Apparently it made things even worse. I've never actually played that game, but apparently it didn't work out too well. But there's a new game being developed by a new group of developers called Kerbal Space Agency, which is being developed from the ground up. Totally new engine, totally new everything. It's being programmed expressly for this kind of game, which Kerbal Space Program really wasn't at first. It was just kind of a test project at first, and it's got a lot of cruft from those early days. But this one is being programmed from the ground up, knowing what kind of game it's going to be, and hopefully it will be a lot more stable. But it's got some versions out now that you can play, but I'm waiting until it's got a few more features implemented. But I would like to play it on stream, so once I get a bit more of a mature version out, that's something you can look forward to. So let's see, we got our return ship from the Mun. And I think I've already got my crew report from the water, yeah, and I think I've already got my EVA report from the water, but let's check to be sure. No, I don't, so that's a little bit more science, and we need all the science we can get right now. Let's recover our vessel. Oh yeah, 340 science points. That should let us unlock some interesting stuff. So let's see, what's our next Rendezvous. Okay, that's annoying, but I'm not going to accept this just yet. Or should I? Well, I'm going to want to do a rendezvous and a docking. So first let's see what we can unlock. Okay, this will be very nice to unlock. This Probodyne Octo is the first probe core that's actually useful because it can hold us steady. So all those frantic maneuvers that I was having to do trying to pilot our craft before, since the only astronaut we had on board was a scientist, not a pilot, we won't have to do that once we get this unlocked. I don't know if I want to jump right to this though. I think I will, because it's also got solar panels, which are very useful for a lot of the missions we're going to be wanting to do. And it's got a bigger battery. We've already got a battery, but it's a smaller battery. And this is also one that we can put in line instead of attaching it to the side of our vessel, so we don't have to worry so much about balancing. Thermal control system, that's for heat. We don't have to worry about that yet. Nothing that we're going to be doing at this stage of the game is going to generate a lot of heat, but these will be useful later on. This is a light. It's just for show, basically. There are cases where lights are useful. If you're docking on the night side of a planet, it can be nice to have a light, but we don't need to do that just yet. So I think I probably will be unlocking this, since having a decent probe core and solar panels is very useful. But let's see what else we can get. So down at this lower level, oh, and this is 90 points, so I can unlock this and get quite a few other things too. So down at this lower level, we get general construction. Okay, let's just see. Do we have any? Okay. Oh, we got a tourist thing, which is basically the same as these VIP things, but get 2 people in one mission, and that's useful to have. And we got a rescue mission, but these 2-star rescue missions, these mean that the astronaut that we have to rescue is going to be fairly high up. It's going to take a lot of fuel to get to them, and it's just not really worth it. So I'm not going to accept that mission. We should be getting some rescue missions in this 1-star category soon. I will be accepting those missions, because if you rescue an astronaut from orbit, they join your space program. So that's a good way to recruit new astronauts. Science data from space around the Mun. That'll be useful to have, since we are going to be getting more science data from space around the Mun. I don't know if I want it taking up one of my slots, but, well, since I've got 7 slots, I might as well take it. Science data from the surface of the Mun. We will be landing on the Mun in less than 10 years. You know, within this decade. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard, but actually because it's gives us a lot of science points. But and yeah, I think I'll take that. It'll take up one of our active contract slots, but we got enough of those that I think we'll be all right. So let's do this. Now, the thing with these tourist missions is that throughout the game, you'll start getting missions to take tourists to any body that you've been to. Oh, so I might have screwed things up already, but these ones are okay because they just orbit around Kerbin. But eventually they'll start asking you to accept tourist missions for like the Mun, for Minmus, for other planets, and since they take so long to get to, they're not really worth it. So you want to take these orbit around Kerbin missions while you've got them. Oh yeah, see here we've got one. Fly by the Mun. I don't want to fly a tourist by the Mun. That would my Mun missions for the foreseeable future are going to have kind of all their seats filled up. So I don't want to do that. So let's take these other. Oh, that's a fly by the Mun. I don't want to do that. Orbit around Kerbin. I do want to do that. So I'll take that mission, and I'll put those tourists on the empty seat when I do my rescue missions. So let's see, what can we get? Yeah, we can get this, which will be useful for those tourist and rescue missions. Do I want it right away? Okay, I really need this probe core. Almost everything that I'm going to do from now on is going to be a lot easier with a good probe core, so I'm going to unlock this. I've still got some points left over, so let's see what else we can get. Okay. This ladder is very useful because it will mean that people will be able to hold on to the outside of this crew cabin, which will be kind of necessary when I start doing rescue missions. So, but that's a 90 point unlock. So I don't know if I want to do that just yet, but let's see what else is on here. Cargo storage unit. Those can be useful for cargo, which isn't that important just yet, but will be more important later on. This is another cargo storage unit. It attaches to the side of a vessel where this goes inline. Either one is useful. A repair kit, which will allow an engineer to make repairs. Our missions are so short right now that that's not a big deal, but again, that'll be useful later on if I make a mistake and destroy a solar panel or something like that, which happens from time to time. This is another crew container. I don't use these very much, but they have their uses. This carries 4 people instead of 2 people. This is a lamp that I can set up on the ground on a planet to give me more light. I don't use these very much, but they might be useful in some situations. Another lamp, but this one's on a tripod. The ladder that I talked about, and a wheel that will allow us to make rovers. That is useful later on, but I don't need it just yet. So what else? Okay, we got our stability. I do need these at some point. I don't know if I need them right away. These I don't need just yet. These are good for building airplanes. I'm not going to be building any airplanes just yet. I will be using airplane parts in my rockets later on, but I don't need to do that just yet, so I won't unlock this for a little while yet. This, yeah, I think I will unlock this so I can do the rescue and tourist missions. And let's see. Yeah, I'll unlock this too. Okay, now let's look at, okay, I can't unlock any of these because I need to pay to upgrade my science lab, but these would take up just about all of the science that I have, so I wouldn't want to do that right away anyway. So let's see, this EVA experiment kit will let me get more science, so that'll be useful to have. That's very high in the ranking for the next thing I unlock. This will, okay, this is not a decoupler, it's a stack separator. The decouplers stay attached to one of the parts that they decouple. So generally in the rockets that we've been using, they stay attached to the engine fuel tank sections that just drop away from our rockets, which, but these ones separate completely. So they separate from both sides, which I don't find that useful, but they're there if you need them. This is an adapter. It'll let us attach medium-sized parts to smaller parts. This is flat. Well, this is the same thing, but it's cone-shaped, so it's a bit more aerodynamic. This is a docking port. This is very useful. This will allow us to join 2 ships together and transfer resources between them, to use the engines of one vessel to carry another vessel. And I will be getting exploration contracts to actually do these kinds of rendezvous missions. So, rendezvous and docking missions. So I will need that. I'll probably be unlocking this, but I'm going to look through our other options first. Space exploration. Oh, I think I already looked at this. Yeah, this will be useful. That's the only useful part on this. The other parts have uses later on, but this is the only part I need right away. And I can't unlock them both. I can't unlock this and that because I would need 180 science points to unlock them both. But this has an EVA experiments kit, which will let me get more science. So that might be our best option. But let's keep looking. Okay, we got another reaction wheel, which we already unlocked here. This is a bigger one. It provides more... Now, these reaction wheels, they let you turn your vessel when without using engines, which is very useful. A lot of command pods have them built in, but if you don't have a command pod with that built in, then you need a reaction wheel. But we've already got one reaction wheel. This is just a bigger one. So this will be useful to have, but we don't need it just yet. Now this is a lander can. This is another command pod, but it's useful for landers. But I don't end up using this very much because I tend to just land either our standard cone shape lander, yeah, our cone shape lander here, or I land unmanned landers or landers that use probe cores instead of actually needing to be controllable, because that's the difference between a command pod and a passenger module, is that you can control a vessel from a command pod where you can't control a vessel from a passenger module, although passenger modules tend to be lighter, cheaper, and carry more people. Now this is a tank for monopropellant. Monopropellant is a particular kind of fuel that the standard rocket fuel that we've been using is split up into liquid fuel and oxidizer. Monopropellant is just one type of fuel, and it's useful for these engines here, which are our vernier engines. They are useful for making fine adjustments for like moving. If you need to thrust a little bit sideways or a little bit backwards, you would use a vernier engine for that. You'd stick them at various points on your vessel so that they're pointing in all directions, and they'll give you finer control of your vessel. These are very useful to have, but I don't know if I'm going to need any for these early missions that I'm doing, so I don't think I'm going to unlock this right now. What's next? Landing. Okay, we got a heat shield. I think, did we unlock heat shields earlier? Yeah, we unlocked some heat shields, some smaller heat shields. This is a larger heat shield, but we haven't actually used a part that's that big yet, so that's not that useful. Landing legs, which are these the first landing legs that we've unlocked? They might be. So that's useful when you're landing on a body, which we're going to be doing pretty soon, landing on the Mun, but we haven't done yet. But I think got landing legs in one of these other things. Sorry, I just need to check. I don't remember. I thought we don't unlock landing legs. Sorry, I've got to find those landing legs. Just a minute. Because I'm sure there's a smaller... Yeah, there it is. There's our small landing strut, which will be enough for the missions that I currently have planned for the not-too-distant future, so we don't need this. Yeah, I don't think anything on here is going to be useful for the current stage of development that we're at. And this is more airplane parts. Okay, this is another nose cone, but it's good for higher speeds. This is another nose cone, but it's big for bigger rockets, which we don't have. This is a fairing. Fairings are very useful. Fairings let you have a craft that's an odd shape, that's not aerodynamic, but you can just wrap in your fairing, and it becomes aerodynamic. So those are very useful to have, but I don't know if we need them right away. Another stack separator. This is one of those sideways separators. It's not that useful. I barely ever use it because the one we've already unlocked is good for just about everything. And this one I almost never use. It's basically the same as what we've already got, but it separates the separating thing out from the rocket a little bit more. It's on those little legs that give you a little bit of a gap between it and your main rocket. Another flag. I think this is a bit bigger. Another adapter. And this will let me attach three parts to one. It's not that useful. I don't really use them that often, especially not this one. Later on, I'll unlock one that will allow me to attach 2 small parts to 1 big part. Those can be useful, but these ones, they're not that useful. This is a fuel line. This is very useful because it lets you set your rockets up in such a way that you can pump fuel from your booster rockets into your main rocket. So your main rocket will still be completely full when you detach your booster rockets. That's very useful to have. This is a fuel tank, but it's much bigger than the ones we have. It's larger in diameter. Now, we don't have any rockets to attach to it yet, but we will be getting that at some point. But we will be making a lot of use out of these fuel tanks. So we get 3 of them here. But we don't need them just yet. This is another fuel tank. It's just a longer version of the fuel tanks that we've already been using. Very useful to have, but we can make do without it. And this is a drain valve. It lets you drain off fuel. I keep forgetting to put these on my ships. They have uses. There are situations where you want to get rid of fuel, and I keep forgetting to put these on though, so I never have that option. And okay, we got another solid fuel booster, but this one is very small. This one is not very useful. I don't know if I've ever actually found a use for it. This is another liquid fuel engine. It's also very small. This one is useful because it's small and light. It doesn't put out too much thrust, but if you're just if you're just flying a satellite along, or you just need a little bit of extra thrust for an extra fuel tank, then it can be useful. Same deal here, but it's even smaller, even lighter, puts out even less thrust. These are good for satellites. Not good for much else, but we will be putting up a lot of satellites over the course of this game. So these are good to have, although we will get a better engine for those later on, but not until much later in the game. This is another fuel tank that you can stick on the side of a vessel. This is another fuel tank that's very small, so it's good for using in conjunction with these small engines. But yeah, I won't unlock this just yet. This is a huge solid fuel rocket booster, which I never use. Even that one that we used a little bit earlier for our leave the atmosphere flight, that one I barely ever get any use out of, and this one's even bigger. And solid rocket fuel boosters are just, you can't control them, and they're very limited in what they're good for. But these 2 engines are very useful. This is sort of like a bigger version of the Terrier that we've been using. It's a Terrier for these bigger fuel tanks. And so it's very, very good, very efficient in space. And this is another engine for the big fuel tanks, but this is better on the ground. This kind of becomes obsolete a little while after you get it, but there will be a stage of the game where we'll be using this a lot. But yeah, I don't think we're not going to be unlocking these just yet. So yeah, I think I will unlock this. And yeah, because this will be giving us our EVA experiments kit, which will let us get a little bit more science, which will hopefully give us enough science to unlock one more thing. So let's do that science then. Let's clear this. Let's get a command pod. Oh, before I do that, so I haven't been taking surface samples, and what do I have to do for that? Okay, surface sample, yeah, that'll be good to have, and it will give me a little. I can afford this, and I'll have a bit of money left over. Hopefully this bit of money left over will be enough to put some rockets up and earn a little bit more money. So yeah, now let's do this mission. Let's get a little bit more science. And that science experiment is a piece of cargo, so let's put it on our craft. It's got space for 1 type of cargo, although you can put 4 of them in this slot. but we only need one. And do we have any other science to do? No. Okay. So let's launch. So we'll do an EVA. We'll get our surface sample, which doesn't have an animation associated with it, so it's not that impressive. But it gets at science, so that's good. And now we'll... oh, no. I didn't bring the experiment with me, so I got to do that. Now, I could have just grabbed it out of the pod, but again, Kerbal Space Program is a very buggy game, and if you do that, if you grab a cargo out of a pod when you're not in the pod, sometimes it gets duplicated, and some weird glitches happen, and it's just I don't like to do it because Kerbal Space Program is a very buggy game. So let's get out and let's do some science. And of course, the most important science experiment is golf. Okay, so let's see how much science we get from this. And of course, we can do it again at the runway. Okay, we're not at 90 yet, but we should be able to get to 90 if we do those experiments again from the runway. So that'll let us unlock a little bit more. And let us... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that, but that's kind of a... I've imported a lot of my craft from other saves, because I have played this game before several times, and instead of designing craft and doing all the trial and error to get things balanced and everything, I've just imported my craft from my other saves into this one. We can't actually launch any of these because we don't have... every single one of them has at least some part that we don't have unlocked. But this will make things go quicker later on, but no, that's not what I want to do. What I wanted to do is just get this command pod and get our scientist in it. And okay. I don't think he's actually going to have this, but just to be safe. I think that's another Kerbal glitch. Because the whole cargo system was implemented fairly late in Kerbal Space Program's lifetime. It was implemented, I think, after Take-Two took over, and when Take-Two took over, things got worse. Things got a lot worse. That's one of the reasons why I'm not using the DLC, because that was entirely implemented after Take-Two, and because of that, it's so buggy that it's almost useless. So let's do our science. Oh, and that didn't get me extra science, because I think you can only do that EVA science from one place on Kerbin to get, it just counts for the whole planet. But hopefully this will still be enough to get me what I need. $95, good. Okay. That means I can unlock... What was it that I want to unlock? Oh, the ladder. options. Do I want the ladder or do I want the docking port? Because the mission that I have available right now requires the docking... Or do I have the docking port unlocked already? I have the docking port unlocked already, so I can unlock the ladder. Which will be good. And I'm just going to look through the other things again, just to make sure that there's nothing in here that I really want. No. So the ladder is the critical part right now. All right. So, okay, explore Kerbin, rendezvous 2 vessels in orbit of Kerbin. I'm going to do a little bit more than what they're asking for. Instead of just rendezvousing 2 vessels, I am going to dock 2 vessels. So, and they will be 2 unmanned vessels. So, and so I'll be using this Octo probe core. They will have docking ports on them so that I can dock them. And let's see, did I unlock structural? Okay, I did unlock the adapter. I didn't unlock the fairing, no. Okay, but the adapter will be enough. And for future purposes, I'm going to put 2 small tanks on this instead of 1 big tank, because I'm going to actually be using this for other things later on. And let's give it some electricity. Let's give it a battery. We only need 1. And let's give it an antenna. I won't need that for low-Kerbin-orbit, but I plan to use this for other things. And let's give it an engine. Let's give it a name. Okay, and now let's give it enough boosters to get off the ground. That's too big. Now, I could have unlocked a longer fuel tank, but I don't need it. I can just use 2 smaller ones. So what I'm hoping is that I'll be able to get this into orbit mostly on this stage and only use this upper stage for the very last part. There's no parachutes on this because I am not going to be landing this. It's unmanned. It can burn up in the atmosphere when I'm done with it. Or crash into the mun, or crash into something else. So now that I have that probe core, I can enable SAS, which enables my SAS options. I only have 1 of them. Stability assist that keeps my vessel pointing in the same direction, which is good to have. But we'll be unlocking more options later on, but that's because I've got this probe core. So this probe core is a very useful thing. Oh. But since I only have that stability assist SAS, I'm going to put some fins on this so that I can use aerodynamics to keep this pointing in the right direction during the launch. I'll still need stability assist once I'm out in space, but during the launch I'll be using the fins. Later on I'll get a better probe core, or I'll level up the pilots, and I'll be able to have another SAS option that will keep me pointing prograde, keep me pointing in the direction that I'm moving, and then I won't need the fins so much. They'll be useful in some cases if I've got a vessel with weird aerodynamics that I need to compensate for, but once I got SAS that can keep me prograde, then the fins become less useful. But since I don't have that now, I'll use the fins. That'll make launching a lot easier. And I'm not going to launch just yet because there's another thing I forgot. I might have forgotten. I'm going to check to see aerodynamics. Okay, I don't have a small nose cone to put on top of this, so this won't be as aerodynamic as it could be, but I don't have the right parts to make it properly aerodynamic. So I got to launch with what I've got. Hopefully I'll still have enough fuel to get into orbit. Hopefully the air resistance won't be too bad. Okay, now turn SAS off so that air resistance will keep me pointing in the right direction. I'm on a little bit steeper of a trajectory than I'd like, but I think I'll still be okay. Yeah, I'm losing apoapsis because of air resistance, but I think I'll still be all right. Now, how will I be for fuel? I'm not actually sure about that. I might have to retry this launch, or maybe tweak the design of this vehicle a little bit. Oh, and I don't have a reaction wheel, which I think will be okay because my engine will let me steer a bit when I have it burning, and when I'm in space, I think once I get this engine staged away, I think my vessel will be light enough that the reaction wheel built into the probe core will be enough to let me maneuver. So I'm still maneuvering now, even without a reaction wheel, but it's slow. So let's set up my circularization maneuver here. Circularization maneuver. All right, and yeah, I'm having trouble getting this pointed in the right direction, but as long as I can get it there and stopped by the time I run out of time here, which I have, then I'll be okay. And I got to be in this view to stage, so that's important. Let's give it a little puff. I overshot a little bit. Doesn't matter. I'm in orbit. That's what matters. Okay, so let's send up another vessel. Just had to take a sip of water there. Okay, so now we're going to rendezvous with this thing, but I'm not going to use the same type of vessel for the rendezvous. Because I want to level up one of my pilots a little bit. So let's, oh, I don't have any place to put them. Let's start from scratch. So let's have one of these, and let me make sure. Okay, good. Now I can't use my usual parachute on top because you know, I usually put a parachute on top like this. Can't do that because I'm going to be putting the docking port on top. So instead, I'm going to be putting these radial parachutes on. A little bit overkill. I'll be descending pretty slowly, but that's all I've got. I've also got these parachutes, but these are drogue chutes. These are good for slowing you down a little bit when you're going very fast, but they're not good enough to... They don't slow you down enough to land with. You got to use them in combination with something like this, but I'm not going to need them right now. Okay, and my pilot is going to be Jebediah. That will let him at last get a little bit of experience. And because he's a pilot, he can already do the holding in place, so I don't need the probe core for this. Since we're just going to be maneuvering in low-Kerbin-orbit, I only need a little bit of fuel. And the rest can be pretty similar to what we already have. Now, if Jebediah already had some experience, then he'd be able to hold this vessel prograde, which would help a lot on launch. But since he doesn't have experience, I'm going to have to use the fins again. Okay, and let's get our staging the way it's supposed to be. And let's put some solar panels on here just to be safe. I don't think I need a battery because this pod already has some electric charge on it. And the solar panels will make sure that I can keep it charged. Okay. Oh, I've got the wrong engine on here. I've got a Reliant when I really should have a swivel. That's why I'm having so much trouble getting into the curve that I want to get into. That's the problem with the Reliant and the swivel, is that they look very similar to each other. And now that I've got the swivel, let's make sure that my staging is still good, which it was not. And once we do this rendezvous, if the next exploration contract is something interesting, I'll be doing that. If it's not, then I'll be ending the stream for the night, because we've already been going for more than 2 hours. Hopefully I'm not on too shallow of a trajectory. Okay. Yeah, no temperature gauges on anything, so that's good. It means nothing's going to explode on takeoff, hopefully. Now this is a bit heavier than the other ship because it's got a command pod and a Kerbal on it instead of just a probe core, but I won't need as much fuel because this one will be landing. The other ship that I launched, I'll be reusing it for a couple more things. I'll be getting rendezvous missions around the Mun and Minmus, and it's just annoying to have to build new craft for that, so I think I've got enough fuel on that other craft to be able to reuse it for those missions. So that's why I put some extra fuel on it, and the reason why I put 2 tanks on it is because another use it can have is to make it easier for me to transfer fuel from one vessel to another. Because if you don't properly balance your liquid fuel and oxidizer, then one of them just becomes dead weight, because one of them will run out before the other. And the game doesn't give you any way of doing that. It doesn't give you a way to transfer liquid fuel and oxidizer in balance with each other. So the only way to partially fill a tank and keep it balanced is to fill it from a small tank. So, you know, take your fuel from the big tank, put it in the small tank, then take it from the small tank, put it into your other tank, and just use that to be able to put small amounts of fuel into your tank and keep them balanced. What I said probably won't make too much sense to you, but it'll make more sense later on in the game. All right, and let's circularize. If I use the mouse wheel to adjust these, I can do it in much finer increments, which I need here. Okay. And yeah, I should have plenty of fuel for what I need to do with this ship. Now, another thing I can do to make more fine-tuned adjustments is to change my thrust limiter here. So if I change it, now maximum throttle will actually only be 0.5% throttle. Well, like 0.5% of throttle. So that means I can be a lot more delicate, and there. So now what I got to do is rendezvous. So let's set our target. And we're not quite on the right plane. Okay, and its periapsis is 74. And its apoapsis is 76. So what I want to do is have my periapsis below its apoapsis. So to do that, I'm going to have to do my maneuvers from here. No, that's not good. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is switch to this, because I want to get this above my other ship. So I'm going to target this one. And this is my descending node. I've got an ascending node at the other side of my orbit. These are where my orbit crosses the orbital plane that my target is orbiting on. So right now they're not quite lined up. They're a bit slanted relative to each other. And I want to have them lined up. And another thing is that the slower you're going, the easier it is to change your plane direction. And the higher you are up, the slower you'll be going. So instead of just changing immediately, I am going to add a maneuver here, go up to, let's say, 80 kilometers. I don't know if what I said made any sense, but and then I'll move my node around so that apoapsis is right on the ascending node. And I will time warp and burn. So let's do our burn here. Okay, this reaction wheel is still not giving me as much power as I'd really like. But I can still control the craft. It's just more sluggish than I'd like. So let's do our burn here, which will be a very small one. Okay, and now we're gonna set up another maneuver node, but this one will have some anti-normal built into it. Since this is an ascending node, I need to go low. I need to go down anti-normal to get lined up. So I'm gonna just keep pulling that until the ascending node starts moving. And once it gets to about halfway through the orbit, then I'll be pretty well lined up, because you can see it's at 0. And now I want my periapsis to be at 80 so that I'm in a circular orbit. So let's give a bit more normal. And adjust our ascending and descending nodes. And okay, so our periapsis is at 80, our apoapsis is at 80, and our ascending and descending nodes are at 0. So that will get us into a good orbit for this maneuver, this rendezvous that we want to do. I did accept the rendezvous mission, right? Yes, I did. That'd be good. And let's lower our thrust limiter. 2% should be fine. There we are. And yeah, now we're properly lined up. We're in a circular orbit at 80 kilometers. Well, this one is still at 75. Now that's important because I want the maneuver that we're going to do with this ship to cross the orbit of the other ship. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves pointed prograde, and we're going to give it a little bit of thrust. So now our apoapsis is going higher up. Now the higher our apoapsis, the slower we'll be going, which means our orbit will be taking longer, and the other ship will catch up with us, which is what we want. Let's go up to 250, and our plane is a little bit off, so let's adjust that a little bit. That should be fine. We're not quite at 250, but we don't really need to be at 250. I just like round numbers. But so now every time we orbit, this rendezvous target is going to gain on us a little bit because we're going into this, we're going into an elliptical orbit that will take us higher up. Higher up means slower. So what I want to do is set up a, and because we're lower than the rendezvous target, will be crossing its orbit twice. This orange marker, that indicates the first time we'll be crossing. This purple marker, these indicate the second point that we'll be crossing. This is, let me see. Right, this is where we'll actually be crossing, and this is where our target will be at that point. As you can see, it's very far away. We don't want that. So what I'm going to do is set up another maneuver node at periapsis, and I can step it through to future orbits. So with it set up like this, which was the default, that means that as soon as I get to this maneuver node, it'll expect me to do the burn. But if I hit this button here, that means that it will expect me to do the burn one orbit after. I'll go around, pass by it, and then the next time it'll expect me to do the burn. But even that won't get me very close to the maneuver target, to the rendezvous target. So let's do another orbit. And I think I need to do one more. Now that overshoots a bit, but that's fine because we're going to want to get our apoapsis low again to rendezvous with this target. So let's right-click on the rendezvous point, which is also the apoapsis, but that's just an unfortunate thing. And now with this maneuver, if we say that we're going to slow down, which we will have to do anyway, this is moving closer to that. So our intersection point and the target position are moving closer together, and we want them to be right on top of each other. And we can see the separation down here is also decreasing. So let's just keep moving that until we overshot. So I'm using the mouse wheel here to give me finer control. And we want our separation, hopefully, to go down to 0. If our planes are off, then we might not be able to get exactly to 0, but I think our planes are good. And yeah, we're at 0. So now we're going to have to do a few orbits to get to this, to get to that maneuver node. And because of that, we're going to go through the day and night side of the planet a few times very quickly, so there'll be some flashing. If that's a problem for you, you might want to look away. And I'm going to start the warp in 3, 2, 1, warp. Oh, okay. We're not warping very fast, so the day-night cycle is not fast enough to really be a problem. So you didn't need to look away. So let's get right to the burn. We're burning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Make rocket go now. And that was a short burn, so I probably shouldn't have given it full throttle, but let's do our fine-tuning here. Okay, so how is our actual intersect? Okay, we're not intersecting exactly with the target. We're at 0.4 kilometers. We want to be at 0, so let's reduce our thrust limiter to very low, 0.5%. Get ourselves pointed retrograde and see if we can make that fine-tuning that we need to make. And there we are. Now we're going to be within 50 meters of the target because it rounds. So if it's rounding to 0.0 kilometers, then we're going to be within 50 meters of the target, which is where we want to be. I'm going to quick save just because, and now let's warp to our target. Okay, now you might have noticed this changed. It's not orbit anymore. It was target. You can click this area here to shift it between target, orbit, and surface. We want it on target, which will give us our speed relative to the target, which means that if we point ourselves retrograde now, instead of being retrograde relative to the planet, it's retrograde relative to the target, which means it will slow us down to the same speed that the target will. So let's get a little bit closer. Let's get within close to 1 kilometer. Okay, that should be good. And now our relative speed is going down. Okay. Now we're closing more slowly. We're closing at 8.5 kilometers per second. And let's do a bit of time warp so it doesn't take ages to get close to the target. But because our burn wasn't perfect, now we're not going directly towards the target. Our retrograde and our anti-target indicator should be on top of each other, but we can adjust that by burning a little bit further from the retrograde indicator, and that kind of pushes it towards the anti-target. Anti-target just means that it's if we're on the anti-target indicator, then we're pointing directly away from the target. If we turn around, then we get our target indicator, which is a circular thing. But we don't want to be pointing towards the target because we still have some slowing down to do. Now we're not going directly toward the target, but that's good because we don't want to run into it. So let's slow down to nothing. Okay, so now we're going at exactly the same speed the target is, but we're not facing towards it. So let's change that so that we are facing towards it. But it's not facing towards us, so let's switch over to it. And we've already set it as our target, so let's do some turning so that it is facing towards the target. Okay, now we're both, if I can just get that setting. Now we're both facing in the same direction, and I'm off by a little bit, but that's fine. Now we can dock by just applying a little bit of thrust. 0.3 meters per second, that should be enough. And since we're both facing each other, our docking ports are facing each other, and I just have to make sure I stay on target. And there we are. We are docked. So let's see, we should have that as the world's first milestone. Okay, that's old. We performed a rendezvous maneuver. We performed a docking maneuver, and we started constructing a space station, or at least that's what it thinks. It thinks that any vessel with a with more than one part that has a any vessel with a solar panel, a docking port, and that consists of two vessels joined together, that it's a space station. Obviously, this is not a space station. It wouldn't be very useful as a space station, but we've got that world first ticked off for around Kerbin. So let's just get rid of these, and yeah, we've accomplished the mission. So now let's undock. And just to be safe, let's be going prograde when we undock so that we stay on the proper... Actually, we're not on the proper... it doesn't matter. We're not on an exact equatorial orbit, so it doesn't matter if we're facing prograde or not. What I just said will make more sense later on, but not on this stream, probably. So, okay. Now, I want to go retrograde ultimately, but if I just give it full throttle now, then the exhaust from the rocket will knock this thing off course, which I don't want. So let's point downward a little bit. Now this is you don't want to actually go downward when you're trying to get out of orbit, but I'm just trying to get out of this guy's way, out of this rendezvous target's way, so that when I do go retrograde, which is what you do want to do to get out of orbit, I'm not going to be knocking it off course. So let's go retrograde. Let's use up all of our fuel so that there'll be less heating on landing. Oh, I warped a little bit too far, but that's fine. Let's stage away. Okay. And now it's the same sort of re-entry that we've done a million times. Although this time I've got some SAS, so I still got to do some piloting because the retrograde indicator is going to move as our trajectory changes because of gravity. But it should be a little bit less frantic than when I was doing the Bob missions. And of course, if I do any other missions with Jebediah, he'll be leveled up and he'll be able to just automatically hold on retrograde, which is very useful for launching and landing. Okay, so I think I'm going fast enough that air resistance will keep me pointing in the right direction. So let's let the laws of physics do their thing. And now I don't know if I'm over ocean or if I'm over land. I think I'm over ocean, but it's so dark that I can't tell. So the way I check is, yeah, looks like I'm over land because this is giving me different readings. So I'm going to keep that over land and physics warp until I get to about 1,000 meters. That explosion is fine. That's just the rest of our rocket exploding. It's supposed to do that. And I think I might end the stream regardless of the next mission is, because it's late. I've been streaming for 2.5 hours, which, I mean, a lot of people stream for a lot longer than that, but I like to keep my streams to about 2 hours. Maybe once I build up a bit of an audience and these streams become a bit more rewarding for me, then I might stream longer, but as it is, 2 hours is enough. And now I didn't get very much money recovered from these because I landed very far away from the Kerbal Space Center. It doesn't really matter. I didn't spend too much on this mission anyway. But later on, that'll be a bit more important. But and yeah, 2 experience points gained. I'm at level 1, so next time I use Jebediah, I'll have more SAS options. So we finished the Explore Kerbin mission. What's the next one? Explore the Mun. Orbit the Mun. I think I'll save that. So I'll accept the mission because orbiting the Mun will be a good thing to do because we got some science from the Mun, but it was all from high over the Mun. So by orbiting the Mun, I'm going to be orbiting closer to the surface, so I'll be able to get more science that way. And once we got more science, we'll be able to unlock more parts. And let's just see, are these the, yeah, these are the mod missions, which I don't want to do. But yeah, so that means we'll be able to kick off the next stream with a more useful, a more productive mission. So I'll see you then, next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, as usual. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then.